Hello and welcome to the fourth activity in the Digital Leaders for Sustainability programme. My name is Philip Bowl and I have put together this activity, Apps for Earth. It's all about developing and designing from a paper-based resource all the way to an online demo of an app of your own idea. Now, this app is focused around Earth Day, which is an international celebration in April. So therefore, it should be underpinned by making people think about protecting our planet, being more sustainable, and also encouraging others to do that. You'll be using a resource which is really, really cool called Marvel App to bring something that's unplugged on paper into life. And as always, we'll be talking about ways to enhance your impact as a digital leader for sustainability. Let's get started then. So why Apps for Earth? Well, actually, Apps for Earth was designed in 2016, and it was a project between Apple and the World Wildlife Fund, all focused on increased awareness, funds for conservation, empowers users to engage in conservation efforts as well, and discussions around sustainability. Now, the idea then was all of the proceeds of some of the big apps like Angry Birds or Cut the Rope around that time would be channeled towards the World Wildlife Fund. However, for Earth Day 2025, why don't we think about designing our own app, which is underpinned by this idea? So here's some examples already existing today. Tree app, where you watch an advert, and after you've watched 40 seconds of adverts, you get to plant a tree and grow your forest across the world. Too Good To Go is all about fighting food waste. Every shop, every restaurant, they publish their food and people can go and collect it for a discounted price. Vinted, all about the second-hand sustainable clothes market. And a special mention to Couch to 5K. This app is all about getting people outside, getting them to engage in exercise, but it's also sustainable to stop people using cars and fossil fuels. So I thought it should be mentioned as well. So I'm going to talk you through my idea now before you get started with yours. So I've developed an app called Beat the Street, which I'll go on to more in a moment. But let's read through your task and instructions. We are inviting you to celebrate Earth Day 2025 by designing your own app to encourage users to be more sustainable. Instructions. Step 1, you're going to brainstorm your idea. Step 2, you're going to draw a paper-based example. Step 3, you're going to use the Marvel app to prototype. Step 4, enhance your impact. And as I mentioned, there's some examples. I've got some challenges there, which I'll be explaining a little bit later on. So firstly, have a discussion. What is your app idea going to be? My app, Beat the Street, is all about racing against fossil fuels and getting points for doing that. Trash tracker, you take photos of the trash that you're putting in the bin and it will put you on a leaderboard. EcoQuest, you create or complete eco challenges, which will again give you points. Carbon footprint calculator, so you can quiz to find out what your footprint is and how to reduce it. Sustainable shopper, scan barcodes to check if products are eco-friendly and find better alternatives. Eco swap, exchange second-hand clothes, books, gadgets. Water saver, track water use and get daily challenges to cut consumption. Wildlife watcher, log local wildlife, take photos, learn about biodiversity. I really like that one. And an upcycle challenge. You take a photo of what you have and you get a DIY challenge to upcycle it. As always, there's some ideas. If you want to come up with your own, you can, or use those to get started. The first step is to develop your idea. Draw and develop what you would like it to look like. So mine is Beat the Street, race against fossil fuels. I've drawn a welcome screen, Beat the Street, with a character running down the street. And there is a button which you click saying race, which takes you on to the instructions. The instructions are, you've got a current destination, just like in Google Maps or any other map, and you've got a destination. You load up where you're going, and then you choose what you want to race against. Is it a bus, a train, a taxi, all of which use fossil fuels, and you pick your opponent. Then, when you've selected, it takes you onto the main game feature, which shows a progress bar across the top as you're on your journey. It has a clock of how much time it's taking, and when you get to your destination, you click arrived, and then it will calculate if you have beaten the street and beaten the carbon footprint fossil fuel alternative. And then you've got your leaderboard at the end to track your impact and see how you're getting on against your friends, your family, anyone around your school. So when you're designing your idea, I think the best way is to think about 4 screens: a welcome screen, instructions, the main game feature, and your progress, impact, or leaderboard. And also, top tip, think about your buttons to help you navigate. Here we go then, step 3. I'm going to show you how to take your paper-based drawings, upload them, and turn it into an app using the Marvel app itself, where you can actually trial it and showcase what it's going to look like. So on the next slide, I'm going to be taking you through a live demonstration of how to do this. Here we go then. Let's get started with this tutorial then. I'm going to be taking you through 3 different steps to break down how I did this project. Firstly, how to upload from your paper-based drawings. Secondly, how to put it into a prototype, so how to take those paper-based drawings, add buttons and make it interactive. And lastly, how to share your project, how to share via a URL, and also how to share via a QR code, which will be important if people are using your resource on their phones. Now, first step then, I'm on marvelapp.com. I've signed in with my Google account, so let's select Go to Dashboard to get started. Nice and easy. Now, I'm going to be creating a new project today, so I'll go up here and I will be selecting Prototype. As I mentioned at the beginning of my entire presentation, I have developed an app called Beat the Street, and I'm going to be looking to essentially recreate these 4 windows in my prototype. So also under project type, instead of website and TV, I'm going to make sure that I've gone down to Android because I want my app to work on Android. Now here's some examples. We could create our own design completely online if we wanted. I chose to do mine paper-based because I love that creativity and the unplugged element. Or I could try an example prototype. But as we have pre-drawn our 4 windows, or our 4 screens, I'm going to upload. So what I'll be doing is uploading from my computer. Now, what I've done is I have named each of my 4 screens in order to help me to recognize each of those. But if I wanted to change them, I could go underneath and change what's my welcome screen, my race screen, and so forth. So I'm just going to drag these into position. I start with the welcome screen, then I want my instructions, then leaderboard should be at the end because 3rd should be my race screen. Brilliant. So I have got all 4 of these in position. I'm ready to transition from my upload stage into the interactivity, making buttons, creating a prototype. So firstly, I'm going to click onto race, my welcome screen, and begin to prototype. It's a bit small up here, so what I'll do is I'll just zoom in the corner. Right, the button which is going to be used to navigate from this screen to the next is this race button here. So I'm just going to highlight it, and underneath I've got some hotspot destinations. So I'm going to choose to simply go through to the instructions, but also I'm going to make sure it's got a screen transition, and I'm going to not use push right because that will push it the wrong way. I'm going to push left. Okay. Let's just play to make sure this is working. And then we can get started from there. So if I click race, brilliant. It pushes me on to the next page. So I'm going to click done up here. Now on to prototyping the second screen. So here If you were to choose a bus, I want exactly the same thing. It's going to go on to the next one, and I'm pushing left. Okay, done. On to the next. Again, it's going to go to the race screen, and I want to push left. And I would say here, this is when you can be a bit creative with yours. You could choose how you want it to look. You could choose where it's going to take you. It's all up for you and your app development. So there we go. I think I've created those. I'm going to click done. In fact, I'll just navigate using this arrow here to speed things up. Now this is my progress screen. So the idea being when you are racing, you've got your progress bar across the top, you've got your stopwatch in front of you, and when you have arrived and beaten the street, beaten the fossil fuels, you are going to go on to the leaderboard. So I'm actually going to look at changing one of these transitions. I might have a look at this pop one instead and see what that looks like. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this actually. I've put my entire prototype together. That's stage number 2. You might have played it a little bit more than me. In fact, we'll have a quick play just before we move on to make sure it's all working, because it's nice for us to keep running and debugging as we go. So here it is. Firstly, I'm going to choose to race. Okay, it's working correctly. And I could choose any of these. So taxi, that should take me on. If I go back, the train should take me on to the next one. Nice. Lastly, let's check the bus. Fantastic. And now this is where I've changed this last element to a pop to finish. And there you can go. And there you go. You can see that I am top of my leaderboard. So that's exactly how I wanted my project to go. So that is step 2, completely finished. Step 3, really important, is how to share your project. So I could be choosing to share up here. So I get my share copy link. And if I just take this into an incognito window to make sure it's working. Brilliant, so that's going to work. I'd be able to share that straight away. And another one I really like to be able to do, if I just close this down, a nice way of sharing my project when I'm playing it is by QR code. So if I went onto the 3 dots up here and I chose to create a QR code, I could download this QR code to get it to work and share it that way. Or you could print that out. You could even put that on the campaign you're going to work with. And just to check, here's my app, now working on my phone, race, can choose through, and I've arrived to finish. There we go. So 3 steps, all done. Really quick tutorial on how to use this really effective and fun to use resource, which is Marvel App. Let's go back and continue the lesson. So there we have it. You should now have been able to create and prototype your app. So let's go on to task number 4. Can you maybe add an additional screen to your app? So maybe it could have 5 different screens instead of the 4 that I've presented in front of you. Could you design an app logo to go and share with what you're doing? And on that idea, could you develop an entire awareness campaign to go with your app so you can reach your target audience and get them using it? And also, could you try and link yours to a real world initiative? So if your app is about planting trees, could you lead a tree planting day in school? Or could you put it onto Walk to School Week? Wherever there is a link in the national calendar, what could you do to raise the profile of your prototype and get people using it? As always, task number 5, increase your impact. Can you launch your app as part of your school's Earth Day celebrations? So get it out there, get people using it and showcase what you have developed. Or could you run an entire event where you demo record your app and you publicize it and share it with the community of your school? I hope you really enjoyed this activity and I'd love it if you joined us on the next one. Thank you very much.